Start record. Yay. Hello, Melissa.
Hi. I can't
um,
believe
you
it's
what?
been long. It's been so long. I can't believe it.
I know. I don't think I've seen you in probably about 5 years, 4.5, probably since JC's wedding.
Yes, that's true. Oh my
It,
gosh.
it's been a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just going to do a quick introduction of myself and then I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. I'm Sarah Loring de Garcia. I'm a certified educational planner based in Monterrey, Mexico. I'm a member of IECA, HECA, International ACAC, and I am an AICEP board certified educational planner. I work with a lot of students from Mexico, and many of whom want to go to the United States, as Melissa did when I was her school counselor. And you graduated high school in 2009, is that right?
Yeah. hmm
So, and I am going to give Miss Melissa Barrera an opportunity to introduce herself and tell any of our viewers a little bit about um, her background and experiences and beautiful resume. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Melissa Barrera. I am from Monterrey, Mexico. I went to the American School in Monterrey. Um, I graduated in 2009 and I went to NYU to study musical theater at Cap 21, which is now the new studio on Broadway. And I was there for 2 years. And then I moved to Mexico City and I started working in TV and theater and film. And 4 years ago in 2017, I went to the US. I moved to LA and I started working in TV and film in the United States. The last the last movie that came out that I did was In the Heights in the summer, and next up is Scream, the next iteration of the franchise, and then in 2022 I have Carmen, which is a Sony Pictures classic movie. Um, then I have a show for Netflix called Keep Breathing, and an SDX thriller called Bed Rest that are all premiering in 2022.
I'm so proud of you. You've just done such amazing things. And I have to say, I'm not kidding. When you were in high school, especially Aida, but really every time you were on stage was pretty much guaranteed like ugly, full on Oprah Winfrey cry out of me. So, yeah, I'm a fan. And I just have to throw in there too. I not only did I get to be your college counselor, but I also was your seventh, eighth, both seventh,
Yeah,
both years science teacher.
I,
So
I you were my teacher for a couple of years for
yeah,
sure, and then you
we
became
go
my
way
college.
back.
So I saw you a lot. I don't remember, but I remember your favorite team, like Kansas. Kansas what?
The
Like what
Kansas
was it?
Jayhawks. I have my
Kansas.
little Kansas
I
Jayhawks mug
remember
right there.
distinctly you having the full like on decorations, like merch, everything from the Kansas Jayhawks. And whenever there was a game, it was an event. Like I remember that.
That's funny. Oh, my dear. All right. So, what I would like for you to do today, I want to talk with you a little bit about your experiences, um, really gaining success as a performing artist, and in particular as someone who is not a US citizen but who is now able to work in the performing arts in the United States, and globally. And I think particularly a lot of folks are interested in hearing a little bit more about, how does that work? How do you get to a place where you can be paid for your work in other countries? So I think probably the best place for us to start is I'm going to ask you if you could just tell us a little bit about your university application process and your college experience while you were at NYU.
hmm Yeah, I mean, it feels like a million years ago. I applied, I think in 2008, probably,
Mm-hmm.
um, to NYU. I knew I wanted to go to school for musical theater, and I knew like deep down that I wanted to be in New York, but I didn't. My personality didn't let me only have one choice. So I, instead of doing like early decision, because that was an option, I wanted to explore. And so I applied to a bunch of places, and because it was musical theater and theater in general, like if you want to go for acting, you have to audition. So I had to do like my applications and take the SAT and the TOEFL, and I think I took the ACT as well. I don't remember. I don't know if they require them anymore. But I took everything, and I had to apply academically first, and then I got slots to go and audition, and it was the most nerve-wracking thing in the world. I had Mr. Andrew Smith, that was my drama teacher in school at the time, helped me prepare my monologues, and that I'm eternally grateful for him, for his help in me doing that. And I auditioned for Juilliard. I auditioned for Boston Conservatory, I think, NYU, UMich, I think like
Carnegie
Cincinnati.
Mellon?
I don't know that I auditioned for Carnegie Mellon. I was gonna say, but I don't know that I auditioned for it in the end. I know Cincinnati, I for sure did. I auditioned for a bunch. I didn't get into any of them. I got into Boston Conservatory, and they gave me a scholarship, and I got into NYU. And I was like, it's a sign. New York, it's what I always wanted. And I was I was fortunate that my mom could afford to send me to NYU, because being an international student, a lot of times you don't get financial aid.
Yeah.
In fact, most times I think you don't get any financial aid. You can apply for scholarship, but it's also hard. So I was stubborn, and I made my mom, scramble to find a way to pay for my education, which was very expensive. But I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for the time that I spent at NYU, because it was like exponential growth. It was incredible how I had been, taking drama at the American school for as long as I could. As long as there was an elective, like I was in sixth grade, like I was in drama and choir, like I was focused. Even if it wasn't a performing arts school, the school had a really good arts program and really good arts class. So I just took advantage of that the most that I could. And I was, pretty much setting myself up for that. Even though I was toying with the idea of like maybe studying other things, I knew deep down that that's what I wanted to do, which is why all my electives were that, and why I was in musical and drama festival and like regional productions in Monterrey. Everything that I could do to get experience and get prepared, I was doing. And then I went to NYU, and finally you're going to school for something that you love, that is, hopefully it is what you want to dedicate your life to. If you're lucky, not everyone is lucky to find to get to that decision when you're 18 years old, because it's like it's okay not to, it's okay to and be in school, be in like university and change your mind. It's totally fine, because you're a kid, like you don't know who you are as a person yet. You're discovering that. So I just wanted to say that I think it's okay if you decide to mind. But I knew it. And so I went there, and I was surrounded by really talented kids. There were, I think it was a class of 35 of us. I was the only Mexican that got in. One of like 3 international students. One was a Canadian, one was a UK citizen, and me. And it was pretty intense, because the bar is raised, like it's all people that have different strengths. And so it makes you, it's competitive in a way, but in the best way, because you have to step it up in every sense. So there were students that were better actors than me. There were students that were better singers than me. There were students that were better dancers than me. So I constantly was competing with them and with myself to become the best version of the artist that I wanted to be. And those 2 years that I had at CAP were life-changing. I definitely wouldn't be the person that I am today, and I wouldn't have the career that I have if I hadn't done that.
And you have always really thrived on being pushed by your peers. Like for you, it's like taking the wind right out of your sails if you're surrounded by people who just kind of don't care. When you are around people who are driven like you are driven, it lights a fire under you that can't be put out. You've always been like that.
Yeah, I've always been kind of uh very, very competitive and very much wanting to be the best all the time, which is sometimes bad. But I feel like in my case, it has helped me, be ambitious and like want to constantly work on being better at everything.
I
And
remember your senior year, you were that fall, you were taking 4 AP classes. So 4 of your 7 classes were APs. That was the maximum you could take. And you were starring in as Julieta in 7 or 8 shows a week of Romeo y Julieta, the musical.
yeah,
And I mean, you were like very near the top of your class. And
yeah.
it was just one of those like, how does she do it? But you've always been that kid. So,
I
um,
but I was thriving that year because I was getting a taste of what it was like to be on Broadway, to
yeah,
have like an 8 show a week schedule. And that was my dream, like
yeah,
my dream be on Broadway. That was my goal in life. I'm going to NYU to study musical theater. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to book some show on Broadway, and that's going to be my life. And so when I booked Romeo y Julieta in Monterrey, and it was a short season, it was only 50 shows during like a month and a half. And I was in school. So I would go to school in the morning, then I would go home, eat, then I would head to the venue, which was in Parque Fundidora, and I would get ready for the show. We would be taking the bow at like quarter to 11 p.m. I would go home, do my homework, eat dinner, and then I'd be up the next day. I was a zombie in school, but I was so happy
yeah. You
that,
were,
yeah,
you were loving every second of it. And everyone around you was like, how is she doing this right now? But you were amazing. So,
yeah.
so why was,
I'm like
oh, go ahead.
happy when I don't have time to like eat or sleep or do anything is when I'm happiest, which is not always healthy. I'm like constantly working on finding a balance,
Yeah.
but I'm a workaholic. Like if I can go from one project to the next, that's,
Yeah.
you know, my idea of like goals.
When you do what you love and you love what you do.
Mhm.
There you go. So why was leaving college the right move for you?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer because my mentality is the decisions that I make, I have to make the right decisions. Like my mentality has to be like once I make a choice, that's the right choice, and I have to like see it through, and I have to make the most out of that path of life because I don't know what my life would have been like if I had decided to stay. Maybe I would be in this exact same spot, like, but or maybe not,
Yeah.
So I during the summer after my sophomore year, I had been at NYU for 2 years, and NYU, your campus is New York,
Yeah.
and I was, going and seeing Broadway shows every time that I could, every weekend, getting student discounts, looking on backstage for auditions for like short films or indie films or Broadway shows, and I would constantly go and audition because what I wanted was to work, as everyone, like everyone just wanted to book something and start working. And I saw some of my classmates do that and like join national tours for Broadway shows and book Broadway shows and, leave. And then some of them came back afterwards and some of them just kept working. And so to me, I was like, that's what I want to do. Of course, I wasn't thinking that my situation was different because I was on a student visa.
Yeah.
I couldn't work. I was just there with the permission to study for 4 years. And then after I had completed my 4 years, I could have my year of OPT, which is a year where you can book a job and get paid. And basically during your OPT year, your your mission is to get someone
To sponsor you.
and get you an actual working visa or working paper. And if you don't, then you either have to leave or go to school again, which is what I saw some of my friends have to do. Because I had older friends that were at NYU, had graduated, had gone through their year of OPT, had not gotten jobs, and then with the desperation of not wanting to leave New York because that's where their dreams were, they had like opted for going to school again, getting a master's, and that just means, yes, getting more training, but also more money, like spending more money. And if you don't have it, it's hard.
And I wonder too, I mean, it becomes a bit of a vicious cycle. You can't get the part you can't get the job that can afford to give you the visa without having some experience, but you can't get the experience because you don't have the visa. So it's
a vicious cycle. It's very it's not a level playing field, especially for international students, I think. And what I was doing is that I was working for free, like I did a music video for this like rapper that I got cast in, and like they couldn't pay me, and I was like, cool, you don't have to pay me, I'll do it for free. And because it wasn't union, it was allowed. And then I did this other thesis film for like an indie movie that went on to festivals that I did a small part in, that I was also not paid for. But I just wanted to work. Like I wanted experience, and I wanted to build a resume so that eventually when I got in a room where there was a potential of getting a big part, that they would see experience and they wouldn't just see like a student that didn't have any working experience and that also didn't have papers. And I got very close to booking things in theater. And in the end, I didn't. And I don't know, honestly, if it was because I didn't have papers or if it was because someone was better. That also can be the case. But I just always had that thing of like, how am I going to do this? And always in my mind, there was a possibility of going back to Mexico, starting to work in Mexico in TV, make a name for myself there, and then be able to get an artist visa, which is an O1, to be able to come back to the US and work with that, with that as a support and as a back.
So tell us about that journey. So you left NYU and came back to Mexico, and you started at La Academia. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that and what came after it.
Yeah, that kind of happened. It just kind of like fell on my lap in a way because I was in New York.
Sorry, a lot of folks probably don't know what La Academia is, so you might have to explain it.
I'll explain. La Academia is a reality show in Mexico that went on for many, many years. I think it's done. I think they don't do it anymore, but it was basically an American Idol meets Big Brother kind of reality show. It's a competition singing show where they pick a certain amount of singers and they put them in a house and they have cameras on them for 24 hours a day. And they prepare for the live shows on Sundays. And then on the Sundays, there's the big concerts where you sing and you get judged by like 3 judges, just like American Idol. And the audience has, they can vote for you. And I don't know if any of that's real or not, but like people can call it.
Am I right? You met somebody there in the house.
I met there. Yes. Yes. Honestly, that was the best part about going on that reality show, is that I got to meet my now husband 10 years ago. Isn't that crazy?
It's wild.
Yeah. But I left NYU not for La Academia. I was going home for the summer because I was supposed to do a regional production of Cats that summer. And something happened with the creative team that it got pushed, and I got a call from the director and he was like, we're going to push it. And if you were only staying in New York for this, you should go home for the break. And so I went home to Monterrey, and they were holding the auditions for La Academia. And I was so used to auditioning like at least once a week for something, because I had the mentality of like, the more I audition, the more chances of like booking something, and the more chances of like getting used to audition rooms, which are nerve wracking, so that I could, gain confidence and all of that. So I was like, I'll just go and audition for this, and I went and I sang and I got in. I was like, it wasn't anything, it wasn't even something that I wanted. It was just kind of something that happened. And when I got the call that I got in, I was like, maybe this isn't such a bad thing. Like, maybe this is exactly what I'm supposed to do, to like be on TV. Maybe there's an opportunity for work after that, and then I can go back. So I called NYU. I was like, I'm going to take a leave of absence for a semester. I'm going to do this show. And they were like, cool. Yeah, we'll wait for you in January. And so I went in this show. I met my husband, and after that show, I started working as an actor. I started working in telenovelas, which is not something that I ever pictured myself doing, but I am so grateful that that was my first experience acting on TV, because doing telenovelas is no joke. It's like boot camp. It's the hardest hours. You have to learn 30 scenes a day. It's the rhythm of working is insane. It's unlike anything else. Now that I've worked in the United States and done all kinds of things, I'm like, oh, the hardest thing I ever did was telenovelas. And I started doing that, and I just saw that one job came after the other, and I kept getting casting things, and I was like, I can't go back to school. Like, I have to keep going in this path, because I'm getting a lot of experience by actually being in the workplace and like learning from actors that have been doing it for so long. And I don't regret it. I think that I saved my mom a lot of money by not going back. And I also started making my own. And I started in 2011 building the career that was going to take me to where I am today.
Yeah.
Which, took 10 years to get to actually what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
But it takes time, it takes time.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when you're younger, you think like, I need to do it now. And if I don't do it now, then the opportunities are going to pass and I'm going to be too old. And this is the time. And you start comparing yourself to like other people and other actors that have been working since they were kids. And you get this thing of like, se me va el tren. And now that I'm 31, I realize that is such a myth. Like, there is no thing as that. And there's always, it takes time, it takes hard work to get, a break, a big break. There's no such thing as one big break. There's many, and like small little breaks that feel big in the moment. But it's important to just be patient and trust that if you're doing what you love and you're working hard, eventually you're going to get to where you want to get to. But everyone's has their own timeline,
So you did telenovelas, and then I know you did a lot of live theater in Mexico City. And then Vida. So tell us about how that happened.
I started doing telenovelas, and I was doing like very small roles. At the beginning, I was like sometimes on set for 11 hours for one scene where I had to open a door. Like, literally, that was how small my parts were at the beginning. And so I didn't feel artistically satisfied, and I needed to do something. I needed to go back to my first love, which was theater. And they had auditions for Spring Awakening, which was one of my favorite musicals in Mexico City. And I had gotten really close to booking the national tour when I was at NYU. And I just had this thing of like, oh my God, I can't believe I almost got it and I did it. And then it came to Mexico City, and I was like, it's for me. And I went in and I auditioned, and I got the part of Venla. And I started doing theater and TV simultaneously. And I talked to the producers and I was like, I need your help because I'm going to need you to let me go every day at 4 or 5 p.m. depending on the day of the week, because I need to get to my shows. And I was lucky that the producers were flexible and let me do that. So I started living this double life of like being in telenovelas and then also doing theater at night, which kept me sane. It genuinely like brought the life back into me. And then I didn't stop. I just kept going like that for years. And eventually I was doing Young Frankenstein in Mexico City with some of the best comedians in Mexico. It was a very fun show. And then the creator of Club de Cuervos came to see the show, and he contacted me and said, I want to write a part for you in the 3rd season of Club de Cuervos. And that was probably my biggest break in Mexico, because even though I had been working for years doing things, like it wasn't things that a lot of people in Monterrey were watching. So everyone was kind of like, what even is she doing? Like, what, and then I did Club de Cuervos. And after I did Club de Cuervos, I said to myself, I can't commit to another job, because this is the best thing that I will do in Mexico. And this is the moment to go back to the US. Like, this is what I've been waiting for. And you get comfortable. So I was very comfortable in Mexico. I was like making good money. I was constantly working. I was doing things that I loved, but I never really wanted to stay there. My dream was always to like be in the US and like work in things that had more global exposure. So I literally like packed 2 bags and I went to LA. I had a friend there, and I started looking for representation and like pitching myself and sending my reel, sending my headshot and resume, asking people out for coffee and lunch and introducing myself and seeing if anyone bit, that anyone would want to represent me, because in Mexico, you don't need really representation, at least not in my experience. I never needed a manager because jobs just kind of like come to you directly. Of course, I haven't been in Mexico for 5 years now, so maybe things have changed. But in my experience, that was it. And I knew that in the US, you don't get into rooms unless you have an agent. And so I needed that. And I went to LA. I stayed at a friend's couch. And I found my manager. I found a guy that became my manager, and that was the thing for me that kind of gave me that final little push to say, yes, you should go. And I went back to Mexico City, closed out my apartment, bought myself out of a contract, because I had an exclusivity contract with TV Azteca at the time, and it was very shocking when I asked to leave, because no one ever does that. They were angry. And I said, listen, if you want all your money back, I will give you all your money back. I will make that money back. It's time that I don't get back. So I just needed to do that. And I bought myself out of my contract. I moved to LA officially mid-May of 2017. I think Vida was the 3rd audition that I did when I got to LA. And in a month I had booked it. And wow. It was insane. It was insane because I know that I was very fortunate because the timing was so perfect. But also it was insane because so many people would tell me like, oh, you're going to be right back in a year. You're going to go through all your money. You're not going to book anything. And you're going to come right back to Mexico crying. And you're going to want to do telenovelas again. And I was like,
have we met?
Yeah. No, it's not happen. And then I booked Vida, and I did 3 seasons of that show that changed my life and that introduced me to the English market. And it was such a critical darling that it opened a lot of doors for me. And after that came In the Heights.
Which, can I just say, like, my daughter and I may be in competition to be your biggest fan. She is a huge In the Heights fan. So,
oh my,
as am I. So then In the Heights, Miss
In the
Vanessa, which was incredible. And I'm so proud of you. And now Carmen and Scream and uh what's the name of it's not Breathe, it's
Keep Breathing now.
Keep
It's
Breathing. Okay.
Breathe, a mini series for Netflix, which is going to be very intense and very fun. And then Bed Rest, which I just wrapped a week ago
I'm so
in
proud
Winnipeg.
of you.
Yeah.
So can I ask you, if you could jump into a time machine and go back and give your high school self any advice, what would you say? What do you know now that you wish you had known then?
I know a lot of things that I wish I had known, but honestly, I wouldn't want to play butterfly effect and do anything to change anything that I've lived. I'm a very intense person, so I know that if I went back to talk to my younger self and told her anything, she would like take it so seriously. And so I wouldn't want to change any single step that I have taken. So I wouldn't say anything. I would just, when I was younger, I was very confident. I was very confident in what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish. And I think I was more confident then than I was like a few years ago. I lost some of that confidence along the way and I'm regaining it now. I think I would just tell her to trust herself, to always trust herself.
Are there any other bits of advice you would share with young people whose aspirations lie in the performing arts and who, like you, are an international student or a non-US citizen, but really wanting to go and pursue performing arts in the US and be able to capture that global audience?
I say go for it. I mean, if I did it, it means anyone can do it. We are living, I think, also in a beautiful moment of a deep, like a very resounding call for authentic representation and for more diversity, which when I went to school was not a thing. So I think it's a great time to be you right now, honestly, and take the most out of all the education that you can, be a little sponge, and get ready for when the opportunities present themselves to you. And trust your gut. Trust your gut when it comes to like doors opening, and if you feel like it's your time to go through that door and you're ready, then do it.
I love it. Well, my dear, I want to thank you for your time. And I am going to share this. Certainly, I have so many students who are interested in pursuing performing arts. And, we know it's a tough road. And you have had some amazing big breaks, amazing small breaks all along the way. But I know it's also your hard work, your effort, your work ethic that has pushed you through. And I just hope you continue to shine. And I will keep being the lady in the back row with the Oprah Winfrey ugly cry. And just know that your biggest cheerleader is always with you.
Thank you so much.
I'm so proud of you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your time, honey.
Of course. Glad
Ah,
to. Would have loved to have someone, say all these things when I was applying for school, and have had someone that like I could feel close, that was maybe from the same state or, from the same school that did it. And because it does help. Like, I mean, I always use Salma Hayek as my example because she's Mexican and because she started in telenovelas and then she like jumped over and became this like global Hollywood star.
mm-hmm.
That she to me was my inspiration and the one that had paved the path before me.
Have you ever
But
gotten to meet her?
I didn't know her and I didn't know much about her. I just knew her work. So it's always nice to feel closer to someone that was just there, literally
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah. Oh, honey. Well, thank you. I'm going to stop the recording and just say to anybody who's watching this, just thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My email address is sarah.loringdegarcia@gmail.com. Or you can visit my website at www.sarahloringdegarcia.com. And Melissa, do you have anything else you want to say before I stop recording?
No, thank you. Thank you. And I hope that this chat encouraged you all to keep pursuing your dreams and give you confidence in knowing that you can do whatever you set your mind to.